Now I ask you, fellow blues, how often does this happen? You come in, and the host is right there. Now I think these guys were doing some player versus player on top of the Farron ladder. I deduced this through the cunning observation of my host's suspicious attire. Also, I get the impression that there's probably a dried finger going, although I don't quite know that's happening just yet since I'm getting my bearings. Now, there are some enemy phantoms on top of the ladder, but they don't really present themselves the moment I come in, so we end up kind of going into the level a little bit. There's actually 3 of them. I think one guy, a loyalist, drops to his death or dies through some means. Maybe one of the other Reds kill him. And then another phantom leaves, so I wait a moment seeing if that means I'm going to disappear, and I don't. So clearly there's a dried finger going. Used to host like this as an invader, and as a blue, you kind of secretly hope to get these types of groups, you know, because you'll probably have strength in numbers, and if you're looking for concords, then it's pretty much a sure bet so long as no one makes a mistake, like this phantom is about to do. Me and the host kind of shuttle over here towards the dark wraith. You always stick with your host, no matter what, if you're a blue. I'm not quite sure what the phantom was trying to do, but like most gank squads, once they break file and go on their own path, he has some trouble dealing with the PvE with his PvP setup. He's probably also a little bit weaker from some of the phantom kills I'm guessing they had. At this point, I think in a moment you're going to see the red kind of shuffle in from behind there in the background. Now I'm keen to let him think I don't notice him, of course. Or at least, you know, I don't make it apparently visible to him that I've seen him. So I kind of just amble up here knowing he's coming up from behind, and then we'll have a bit of a skirmish in just a moment. Like I said, the host kind of shows his true colors once we turn the tables on this invader. I don't abide ganking, but if the situation is presented when I'm invading myself against a host right in the dried finger and me and another red come in, then I will take the opportunity, and I don't expect anyone not to, least of all blues. Now, this host is kind of typical. I know a lot of blues always vie for that situation where they come in and there's some hapless new player, I guess, that's just experiencing the game for the first time, and you get to come in and save them. And no. Most of the hosts are probably going to be like this guy. Okay, those rare moments when you get those new players, they're rare, and you usually will die before you get to see the host. The host will die before you get to save them, or everything will go wrong because the host makes mistakes in the recklessness of the moment, and that's kind of how it goes. So basically, I don't want you to feel bad if you do get hosts like that are just there to gank. I mean, you put your way of blue on, or your parchment, or whatever it is, so you might as well play. Now here's an example of another situation that kind of goes a little bit south. I come in and the battle's happening way out in the level. This is more typical to my experience, personally. I know that things are pretty bad because a lot of the enemies are kind of wandering around chasing me, and I see the host is in dire straits. The NPC just died. Me and the host pass each other, and that's frankly the last time I see the host. So within a moment I realize I've got 2 invaders running at me, I've got a wall of poison behind me, and in a moment a couple of grooves are going to join the fray. I take a nice backstab right there. So this is it in real time. Things go pretty bad. I try to peel off. This Artorias tags me, roll catches me with a greatsword. Ouch, look at that. That's pretty bad. Kind of panicking a little bit here, but I'm trying to keep my composure. You're not out until you're dead, so I think, okay, if I can just handle this dude. He appears to be alone, I think to myself. I don't know why the other red decided to peel off. It was kind of a bizarre decision, considering they both were there, and I was alone, and the host was clearly not planning on helping me. You're going to get hosts like this a lot too. So yeah, look at this. This is just all kinds of chaos. I'm getting hit by him by his great sword, and when I just turn the tables back, the Gru comes in at me. There's some poison situation going on. I'm already running low. I almost died right there too. But yeah, this is just bad. This is ugly. Look at this. know, when you're in a situation like this, you have to make some decisions. You know, you have to choose when to attack the enemy, focus on the enemy invader. You know, it's always going to be like this. You know, when you're alone and the host clearly doesn't plan on using you as another ally phantom, they're just there to, you know, throw you at the enemies so they can get away. So I kind of hold my ground down. I get the impression this guy was probably in the world for a while, having his own little saga with the host, because he seems to be kind of low on Estus at this point. I don't see him healing, I think, after this. So we go at it. I find a window. I get enough of the enemies off me where I can turn the tables, and you know, after this, a few moments later, I wandered around looking for the host, but the host had summoned someone else, and they ended up killing the other red that ran past me. So it was a double victory. I got 2 Concords out of it, and I went home. I cut out the last bit just for, you know, time. Now here's the replay. Let's slow it down a little bit. So I come in like some kind of, you know, half-cocked Galahad. The host, there he is, and there he goes. Never see him again. Now this red tags me a few times, and then when his backup shows up, the Artorias, I expect to have a 2v1, but that's not what happens. See, he just kind of turns around. I'm guessing these guys were already at it with this host probably before I came in, so that red seemed pretty intent for whatever, going for the host. I let him have it. Me and Artorias go at it. As you can see, this is where I make some mistakes. I'm panic rolling, I'm not being aggressive enough, and this guy is just taking advantage of that roll catch. I'm really kind of giving a bad impression of myself to this guy. He probably thinks I'm another unprepared blue, and he's not wrong to think that. He sees me as an Estus refill, so he should. The host somewhere else in the level summoning a phantom. I'm on my own at this point. I know no matter what happens, me and this invader are going to have our little tango, and my situation at this point is pretty dire. I've got a lot of enemies on me. Those Gru sorcerers are casting poison. I can deal with poison. I'm outfitted for this level. I have moss, but I don't have an opportunity to use it, so I kind of just have to hope that the poison doesn't come and bite me in the ass. And as you can see, this guy's hit me pretty good, but I've got a war pick and I've got the Leo ring on, so I'm okay with trade so long as it's just me and him. But there's a Gru there, so I have to kind of make a decision at some point to go after the Gru. Then as you can see here, the Gru interrupts me just when I'm about to make my upper hand. Yeah, I mean, this is a rough spot. You're going to be like any other ally phantom. The enemies are going to be hostile to you, and invaders will take advantage of that. This guy, I guess because he was weaker, it gives me an opportunity to attack the Gru. I get hit, but I still take that canned animation for the critical hit. Now this is a very crucial bit. I can't be hurt while I'm doing this, so it gives me a moment to just get the lay of the land around me. I see that the other enemies are going to be just kind of standing around casting poison, so I know I can focus on this guy. Now right here, look at us trading. I have a war pick, I have a Leo ring. I know I will out-damage him if I take these hits, and I think he knows it too because he backs up. This is kind of where I take back the situation. I'm still really hurt, but because of his situation, he doesn't get too aggressive, and that allows me to throw some fire bombs to scare him away. I am poisoned, but I have one more Estus. That's one more than he has. So that's kind of all I need. He waits me to get him close. He does outreach me with that sword, so that's where I get it. He gets stuck in the rock, he panic rolls, I get a couple of good swings in, and then that's it. Now, it was sloppy, it was messy, but I got it. And then not long after that, I was lucky enough to have the host win with his new summon against that other red. So it was a couple of mistakes on both sides, but in the end, we were victorious. Now, here's another example, another Farron situation. This is that rare type of host that I was telling you about, the one you want to get. Some guy is in the world, he's alone, and when I find him, I realize he's probably a newer player or probably going through the game. If not for the first time, maybe, you know, it's an inexperienced host, is basically my impression. Now when I get up here, I realize the enemy phantom that the host is fighting is, you know, one of those cookie cutter invader builds with the Dragon Slayer axe using some electric resin and some two-handed R1 spam. I'm not too worried, even though I know that X can really do some serious damage to me. But I'm very comfortable with this type of invader. What I'm dealing with outside of the invader is the host, who's suddenly getting a little bit overzealous because he has a ally, and then there's this giant crab right there. Now, a lot of the times you could be in a good situation and the timing is just wrong. This crab grabs me, he squeezes me, he hurts my feelings. It's a problem. It's not like those grooves I was fighting with earlier, where I could just turn my attention for a moment, get a good guard break, and deal with them. This crab will take a little bit more than that for me to dispatch, and because of this invader is a little bit more aggressive, and he's got a very, very good weapon that will dispatch me very fast if I allow him, I can't quite give that big crab the attention I deserve. Now, what's also giving me a bit of a problem here is that the host is got delusions of grandeur because he's got an ally all of a sudden, and I'm kind of half watching the host. I prefer him to just throw his fireballs, but he does not always do that. And a lot of the times, as a blue, you'll find yourself getting in situations where you'll move into bad positions to follow your host for cover when you normally wouldn't if you were an invader, and you find yourself falling for the same traps you employ if you do invade on groups, which is kind of what's happening here. This invader, I can see the telegraph happening, I can see his choreography, but because of the situation with this crab and where my host is going, because I got to keep eyes on my host, because the host can just as easily get killed by the crab if I'm focused on the invader. So, and the camera being chewed up here by the body of the crab is a problem too. Yeah, it gets sloppy. I make a lot of mistakes, and the invader is just, he's got tunnel vision. He's either going to attack me or attack the host. He can get hurt by the big crab, and I'm kind of half hoping that the crab will go in and hit him as well as me, but you don't want to do that kind of trade because the enemy will still stay on you, and the host and the enemy phantom, the invader, can roll away. Somehow, I don't really know how it happens. We find ourselves up here by the NPCs, which I didn't get to check previously, but they're both very alive. So once again, we get out of the water, and now we have a problem with two NPC players and an enemy phantom, and I'll be honest, I kind of get overwhelmed. I can't rely on the host to be sufficient backup against these odds, and I end up getting killed, and the host is on his own. Now, let's slow it down a little bit so you can see exactly where I made the mistakes here, because this can happen to anyone, you know, and this is especially frustrating when you're someone who invades a lot like me and you know exactly what mistakes you're making and you still do them because of the situation. Now, right here, the quick moment it takes me to get into a couple of trades with this enemy invader, I see his build. Everything that he throws at me right here is everything he does in the entire invasion. He doesn't really deviate from this style of play. He's not a bad invader. In fact, it's probably a very effective strategy for him. So I know that as someone using a hammer, which technically the war pick is, I can stagger him with my own two-handed swipes so long as I can get him there. But the problem is that I'm trying to focus on him and attack first while I'm not really dealing with the level enemies. This whole duration where you're getting grabbed by the crab, that's bad. The whole time I was in the air getting squeezed, this guy could have just come up and murdered the host. He doesn't, but I could have very easily allowed my host to die. This crab basically wins the invasion for this guy. Now, we both get floored right here. But, like I said, an invader can suffer that kind of hit and roll out of it and kind of hope that I focus on them and not the enemy so that I'll soak up more damage, which is precisely what's been happening. Now, if this host and me were communicating via headset, I would tell the host, stay up here, don't go in the water. But in the heat of the moment, you're never going to get that level of communication. You can sometimes use gestures if you're quick enough, but I don't think to do an arrow point. I don't think I have one equipped. And some hosts won't pay attention to you when you do that. What I would love to have happen is have that host kind of back up a little bit so I can kind of have a breather, see if the invader will follow us up there, and then we can have more of a controlled fight. We never get that opportunity. The whole situation is basically me and the host on a rolling attack path where we're on the run, getting tagged by the enemies. This whole time I feel like as a blue I'm taking more damage than I'm giving. The whole time I know if I have at this guy I could probably beat him. So I'm getting overzealous, I'm getting careless, and the host, who is following my lead I think a little bit, allows himself to get in the situation too. And right here, this is where we really screw up. We go up on this shoreline to get some reprieve from that crab. And me, I normally check. I didn't check at this particular instance, and the invader can see that the two NPCs are alive, so he rolls up to make sure that we aggro them, and then he knows he's got some more backup. This invader has full control over the situation. I go for a Hail Mary parry, which is a big mistake because I don't get it. And that's pretty much how it ends.